Bueno, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon. It's an honor for me to moderate this panel with the members having vast experience. We'll discuss different technologies we use on a daily basis, such as artificial intelligence, how these types of technologies are applied to agriculture, and how they enable us to manage data and expand our activities so we can get a more comprehensive view of the whole change. Luis Maria will start discussing the perspective of the state on this subject matter. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'll make a brief presentation so that the following members can continue with their presentations. And it's an honor to be part of this panel. As Martin was just saying, the challenge between machinery and artificial intelligence and how to use these two components in a scenario such as farming, precision farming, where basically the challenge we have ahead of us is to connect things. And many of you know what I'm talking about, the different challenges you face on a daily basis, and the different players that are in between. As the state, entrepreneurs and precision farming companies are one of the components that we can support and make more dynamic, so that we can actually support from as the state. So first of all, the framework has to do with the vision we have. As the president states and the administration states, is the supermarket of the world. But we believe we have many more challenges. It's not just about selling value-added commodities to the world, but we want to have a broader vision that has to do with the revolution of precision farming, and which has to do with the potential we have as a country to export technologies and to export knowledge. So in the last few years, Argentina has started to lead an agtech process that many of us thought would be faster than what the situation, because of the growth rate. Since we're so much devoted to technological developments, we thought it would be faster, but for many reasons, global reasons, and the fact that there are many players that have to come into play, these factors have delayed, so to speak, the development. But it is sustainable and it can be expanded to the world. So, this is our challenge, to export technologies and to export knowledge, as accompanied by the exportation of foods. As on behalf of the state, we have these meetings, competitiveness meetings, we call them, where we have these two pillars, precision farming and agricultural machinery, and then how to connect these different players or these different parts. Some of the issues we deal with in the precision farming meetings are regulatory framework, the laws, for example, the software regulations, the software laws, all of the regulations we need. We have a huge challenge in terms of, as an institution. And governments should be ready and willing to work, open to work with the private sectors, particularly precision farming companies. It's always a good idea to support us from the state so that these companies can work better among them and relate better with the appropriate states. We're also working on international partnerships, that is, how to connect companies. We need to have a close connection between Argentine companies and international companies, particularly for entrepreneurs. Argentinian local entrepreneurs should be connected with international companies, and that would create an international business environment. And then fostering demand. We think that fostering demand is an objective in itself. Our vision is that stable state policies and agricultural policies have to do with demand, but regarding this difficult scenario, we need probably a more proactive approach. More proactive approach is required. Then some agtech prospects in the medium term. I think, well, maybe the other members of the panel could discuss their views on whether we are shifting paradigms from big machinery to micro robots, and the introduction of micro robots and the different actions that can be taken in regards to this. And in the short term, intellectual property, who is the owner of the information that arises on the farm, and then the standardization, how that information should be standardized. Finally, the short-term approach through artificial intelligence, because there's a lot of advance going on already. So through the use of satellite imaging, we could estimate the crop lands. It can be done, but with a precision of variability level of 5%. So we should improve that. Maybe you'd like to discuss on these issues. Thank you. Thank you, Luis. Now Luis Fonseca will, based on the previous presentation ideas, he will make his own presentation, the advances in agriculture in order to address some of the issues that previously that Luis mentioned. The presentation will be in English. Next year, I'll make the presentation in Spanish, I promise.
My name is Luis Fonseca. I'm responsible for agricultural solutions within IBM. IBM has been in this market for quite a long time, and I'm glad to say that now we have, now for 3 years already, we have a division that specializes in digital agriculture. And the topic here today is to talk a little bit on how artificial intelligence is supporting agribusiness, both agriculture and the business that comes with agriculture, in this digital transformation that's happening all over the supply chain. So, looking today, we can realize an exponential growth of data. We're seeing data exploding from everywhere, and we're right at the mid of it. When you look at this chart, we are expecting, at IBM, we're expecting to have by 2020, that means in 2 years, 2.5 years at most, about 44 zettabytes of data being generated every year. A zettabyte is 1 billion gigabytes. Let's say that 1 gigabyte is the hard disk of your computer, so it's 1 billion computers, 1 zettabyte. 44 zettabytes are 44 billion computers of data being generated every year. So there is no hard disk available for that today. And that's going to be generated. And when you look at agriculture, that's massive. That's coming from connected machines, sensors, drones, satellite images, recording systems like ERPs and CRMs, and that's inevitable. That's going to happen. And when we look at this, all this data being generated, the question we have to ask ourselves is, what is the cost of not knowing about this data? You have this massive amount of data. So when you look at medical diagnosis, what is the cost of a doctor not being able to diagnose a cancer? The cost for a family. The cost for an oil company to dig a well in the wrong place. What's the cost of not knowing about investing? So, and the question I ask for you, since we are all in the agribusiness, what is the cost of not knowing about what's happening with the crops, with the fields? Or even more, what's happening through the supply chain? So from the farm to the fork. So digital transformation in agriculture, it's all about this. It's about finding efficiency from the cost of not knowing. And artificial intelligence comes at help. So for those who understand artificial intelligence very often and think of robots talking to you, it's more or less that. But there are 3 topics in which artificial intelligence relies on. One is the capability to understand. So artificial intelligence is capable not only to understand a table of data, but also understands images the way we do. So a computer can look at a picture and say, well, there is a man, this man is white, he's dressing a white shirt. It's the way we perceive the world. Also, it's capable to read text in different languages. So it's not about only structured data, it's about understanding unstructured data, which is the way we talk. It's also capable of thinking the way we think. So when you take a decision, it's not a 100% decision. It's a decision based on probability, on a hypothesis. So artificial intelligence is about creating these hypotheses and finding the arguments to sustain that hypothesis. And finally, it's about learning. So the more data it processes, the more the statistics get good, the better it gets. And so think about that amount of data coming from drones, sensors, machines, imagery. How are you going to process that? So artificial intelligence is the answer. That is coming. It's already in our lives. So how do you think that, for example, have you ever used SoundHound or what's the name of the other? Shazam. How do you think that software, that app, knows the music you're listening to? That's artificial intelligence. It's already in our lives. But when you look at agriculture, what you're seeing today in this digital transformation are several specific solutions coming to the market. And that's part of it. So we're seeing an app for agriculture, for producers. We're seeing digitalized animals. So you can track cows, you can track pigs. We're seeing digital models for crop growth. We're seeing connected machines. You're seeing RFID out of the fence in the supermarket shelves. So all these are solutions you can find widely today. But the question I ask is, what are we doing in terms of efficiency when you look at this data from farm to fork? When you look at this data within the same, in both sides actually, both horizontally from farm to fork and also vertically in your own production, in your own farm. So it's all about generating actionable insights. So how can an insurance company ensure more or better or have a better risk management from these insights? How can a producer get a better interest rate because he has been producing well above average for the last 10 years? So it's about making this data flow. So one thing I'd like to ask everyone, and I think I've been working in Brazil for quite a while. I'm now working internationally with agribusiness. I think that we have to break a cultural barrier here. So this data is important not only for you, producer, to produce better, but also for the rest of the supply chain. So a pasta manufacturer can save cost by having the same fit-for-purpose product that saves money in terms of product or industrial harmonization. And that money can be distributed back. So I'm talking to clients today who are willing to pay more for quality and identified quality products. So my first call is, let's share data. And let's share it. We had a speak on blockchain this morning. Let's share it through a safe platform, but make this data not only useful for you, but make this data useful for the rest of the supply chain and monetize that data. So IBM has been working quite a lot in this vision on connecting the different points through the supply chain. So we reach the farmer, we deliver solutions to the farmer, but not very often you're going to see IBM talking to farmers. What we're doing is we are allowing farmers to get the solutions through other companies. So we're talking to trading companies, we're talking to food processors, we're talking to banks and insurance companies, and that's how we think that this solution will be massively delivered to the market. So I brought here some videos of real projects we did that illustrate a little bit on how artificial intelligence could be applied to the marketplace. So the first video is about a winery company in California, and the issue that the producer had was he had just too many platforms, had too many data sources, and he wanted to understand how to take better decision out of that. So what we did was an artificial intelligence tool to which the producer dialogues with natural language. So this is the video.
Hey, Dad. Come meet the new guy.
The new guy? What new guy?
I hired some help. He really knows his wine.
This is the new guy?
Hello, my name is Watson.
You know wine, huh?
I know that you should check Vineyard Block 12.
Block 12.
My analysis of satellite imagery shows it would benefit from decreased irrigation.
I was wondering about that.
Easy boy. Nice doggy.
What do you think?
Not bad.
So in this specific project, we helped a winery company to reduce the consumption of water, but not only that, they now have grapes with 20% more sugar that helps them in efficiency in terms of wine producing. Another example, here, is what do you do with Internet of Things, a connected machine? So what is the direct benefit a producer can take out of that? So this is a project we did with a partner company that has the onboard electronics within tractor, and we added artificial intelligence to that electronics. So our partner company was Agris, and this tractor has 2-centimeter precision in terms of the way it's taken. So what we did was initially we programmed the path that the tractor had to take. So through that machine that controls the entire engine, steering and everything. So we programmed that, and from that first path, the machine now learns what's going on, what's happening, what's the best way to take, what's the best way to deliver fertilizers, pesticides, and also it also collects the information from the machine in terms of fuel consumption, operator efficiency, and delivers back to the artificial intelligence. So this machine is actually not for you to have 100 machines running without a driver. but actually to be able to collect information and tell the driver what is the best way to manage and operate that machine. We also have another one here. So this is about forecasting from imagery. So the problem the client had here was they were sending agronomists to the field, to the deep countryside of Brazil. And those agronomists were only able to sample 2% of the farm. And that 2% was going to the trading desk estimations in terms of production, with a huge margin of error. So this required a lot of processing, so it's a simplified demo. It's about image recognition that was running on my laptop, and I made this video to bring here. So we're seeing our cocoa fruits. These images were taken through Google. We trained an artificial intelligence model to recognize cocoa. So it's processing. Let me stop here. So what you see here, from that image, we had cocoa fruits. We not only counted them, the number of them, but we also, in this very simplified model, qualified them in terms of color, just for the demonstration. And now we see that we have 3 green ones and 6 yellow ones. And the end project delivered a solution that counts, defines shape and size, colors, what type of diseases those fruits could have, and also detect flowers, growing fruits from a wider image. So the company completely changed the way they were sampling fruits for a forecast. Instead of sending people, they now have totems. They have places in which anyone could just pass and take a picture with the mobile, send that to the cloud, that's being processed, counted, and now the trading desk has a more precise forecast. And finally, we are working, this is in Portuguese, we are working on trader advisors. When you look at trading, processing trading, what's complicated? A trader has to know if there is a vessel available, if it's raining, if there is product available for delivery, what quality that product has, what is the best price. So these are just too much information for one person to interpret. What we're doing is a machine, artificial intelligence machine that processes all that information and gives to a trader what is the best available option, not only thinking about profitability, because sometimes profitability, it's unfeasible for whatever reasons, but what's the most profitable, feasible option? So this trader has to send an X amount of soybeans to China, and artificial intelligence is telling him what is the best option given a set of variables, which is basis, margin, profitability, weather, because sometimes mostly in South America you cannot load ships because it's raining and ports are unable to do that, where there is inventory available, and what would be the profitability for that. So what we see here is the best profitability will be 185,932, right? But it's raining, and the product is unavailable. So a lot of times traders take decisions in the dark and don't realize that until the load arrives in the port. So my final message is, what will come next? Everything I told you is already happening. So the question is, what do you have to do? So we've seen in agriculture, the agronomist, then the manager came, now I expect to see the data scientist. Embrace the data scientist, learn how to discuss, work with him, because this is the future. Thank you.
Bueno, les recuerdo ir mandando las preguntas para cada uno de los...
I remind you to start writing and sending the questions through WhatsApp. We are going to start asking the question after Mario completes his presentation. He will tell us what is his view regarding the situation with these modern devices and machinery, not only what would be the result of this, not only outside the farm, but also inside the farm. So if you have questions, please send them by WhatsApp or SMS. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to this Congress that grows year after year. This is a broad title. The idea is to start talking about transformation of agriculture, livestock and food production with digitalization and everything that is related to the new tools. This is what I will try to explain to you. Is for Argentina an opportunity the fact that there is a global increase in food demand in the next 30 years, an increase of 50%? Are we prepared to face the challenges in the next 30 years? How strategically important will natural resources be to produce food biomass, considering these changes? Our current productive matrix, agricultural and exporting matrix, is not very much diversified, and it is commoditized. Are we going the correct way to take advantage of the opportunities to become the supermarket of the world? In the past 60 years, Argentina didn't have a strategic plan with active policies to transform the productive matrix and become a more agro-industrial, more agri-food matrix. We are on time still. We should be the supermarket of the world. The objectives, the goals for 2028 indicate a country with a diversified agri-food production, with a production that will range from the 130 million tons to 180 million tons of grain, non-commoditized, double non-commoditized exports, an average exported ton that doubles the current value, creating 1 million jobs in the provinces, and the origin of the products, quality labor for new technological processes based on the public-private investment, and human resources for jobs that today do not exist. Biorefineries in the middle of the farms and to populate the provinces again. We are sort of stagnated in 6 to 8 exporting chains of commodities, another 6 agro-industrial consumption or domestic consumption chains, and other 20 chains which are focused only in domestic consumption. We come back to the role of technology, trying to increase the productivity of food biomass. There's no doubt that we will increase productivity. We need an excellence productivity based on process standards and on products that can meet the needs of very demanding markets. A competitive producing and exporting country should have as a priority the role of the wind energy, sun or wind power, or solar energy, bioenergy, biofuels, new energies, connectivity, pharmaceutics, nutraceutics, green chemistry, cellular agriculture, gene edition or gene editing, gene maps, smart machines, robotics, artificial intelligence, precision agriculture and livestock. There are things for the future. We are altogether designing things with some questions that we ask ourselves. Together with the advances in sensors and the way to use them with new satellites, nano satellites, making decisions, making direct decisions, and being properly connected to platforms that are used for food production. We talk about bioeconomy, and we are more oriented towards ag tech with accelerators, startups, agriculture 4.0. Probably all these things will be dealt with in the Congress next year. Is our objective the creation, the development, and the application of state-of-the-art technologies, or is it only a means? No, our objective is being inserted in a new digital technology world applied on different links of the food supply chain, taking into account the planted area or the individual management of herds, or even taking into account the food that is served in a plate, on a plate in a restaurant. 4.0 industry, intelligent or smart supply chains, nutrigenetics, substitute food products. We have been tackling agriculture in a specific way when we started using precision agriculture, but we have come to a bottleneck because we receive data from different sources, and it was not so easy to convert them into a useful agronomic piece of information. Now we have these platforms, we have more precise models, and they seem that they give us the solution to finally push and drive further this precision agriculture. What we have just heard about artificial intelligence is really very exciting. This includes new sensors, new digitalization, and makes us think that this is necessary to produce commodities to export. So it is absolutely necessary to produce food products, because if today we have tariff barriers or we have barriers in the safety standards, what we have seen in the past 4 years really is impressive. We need to be ready to meet with the international food standards, otherwise we will remain out of the market. These would be the platforms, and this is the way we can interpret it. Machines, maps, and models that decode the information and convert them into agronomic information, agronomic data. The challenge is to build smart machines with digitalized programs so that these machines respond to the orders received from the platform or from signals. The global competitive design for fine grain and coarse grain harvesters. The idea is the machine will interpret information that is given from the platform. The Argentine machines are also supplemented by the machines or the devices provided by foreign companies that gives us the possibility to be competitive. We are not asleep. We are not looking somewhere else, and we won't be overcome or overruled by all these things. We are really paying attention to what is going on. We have the patent of this planter that plants at a speed of 14 kilometers per hour. This is also a device that expels the seed, and the seed is automatically planted. So the challenge for no-tillers is to have these types of machines at this speed. So we are paying attention to what's going on. We are not falling asleep because we are trying to introduce new things. And in the near future, we are going to continue introducing new devices and machines. With the technology available today, it's not very, we don't recommend defined a planted area of 200 square meters. Probably we should start with consider only 1 square meter and considering parameters such as the soil depth or the distance between furrows. The truth is that now we are 200 times more precise than what we were in the past. We are registering 5 new biotechnological events. So we need to provide support from the point of view, from the side of the machines. We have to provide support to those breeding advances. So these machines or these tractors have this jets that applies at the same time the fertilizer, the herbicides, and whatever our crop needs. This is a question. Will this be a reality, the mini robots? Really, this is a fact already. We have planting mini robots. They can plant, or they can be used for the plot sizes you can find in Europe, not here in Argentina. And they are not fit for no-till, but they are already being developed. Probably they will be used in intensive agriculture, not in extensive agriculture. So they are already here. They are already among us. I don't think that this is very feasible here in our farming practices. In the near future, I see this remote agricultural management. Argentina is also very alert regarding the application of plant health products. And all these things will probably appear in the next meetings of technological innovation. This is the irrigation system with controlled, it's a controlled dripping irrigation system. This artificial vision through scanners and photographs that allows comparing and apply tank mixed remotely. This sounds as science fiction, but Bayer and Bosch have promised that this will be launched into the market by 2020. The tractor has always superseded the machine. Now, or the tractor guided the machine. Now it's the other way around. The machine or the device will tell the tractor, please slow down because you are going too fast. The chamber is full, you have to stop, you have to click the button and then you can continue. So this is what this device can track what is going on inside a silo bag, and this is already available. These are sensors that are the NIRS sensors that can be introduced inside choppers. Smart irrigation is a fact. In Manfredi, we will have a smart sprayer, and this will show and identify the amount of water that a specific plot needs. The precision livestock will be able to identify an animal, and we will guide this animal depending on the conversion rate or depending on the weight of the animal or other characteristics. In Manfredi, we have a dairy farm where we are already using this, the colors or the smart syringes, that it is being, you entered information in an Excel sheet, and that Excel sheet sends information to the syringe in an automatic manner. We also should consider the possibility to have biorefinery facilities and holistic production where the waste of a process can be the feedstock of the next process. We use only 20% of a byproduct that could mean further transformation of the product. Also, the intelligent metering out of nutrients, corn ethanol. We only extract the starch to produce ethanol. We have a Bio4 plant facility, which is a very modern one. Here, there's no electrical connection because this plant generates its own electrical power. This plant produces alcohol, and with the distillate of that process, this is given to the animals, and so that is converted into meat, into bovine production. There are 20 investors in Córdoba which would be willing to invest in this because policies are in place. These biorefineries will work. This plant is fully automated. It has no connection, no electrical connection. It operates through a platform without physical people. The added value in the source is also a very valuable tool. I'm running out of time. I'm going to show only 2 slides more that show how value is increased and how can we raise the $30 million that we need in this country. How can we increase the value of our raw material? Here we have 2.6 kilos of corn plus 1.3 kilos of soybean. It's equivalent to 13 liters of milk. And this is 1 kilo of Reggianito cheese. In the case of the Reggianito cheese, it increases the value of corn and soybean by 26 times. In the case of chicken breast, the value is increased by 20%. In the case of the yolk, powder yolk that is exported, it's 98% increase. And in the case of cookies, the value is increased by 50 times. In the case of spaghetti, 630 pesos per kilo. Let's see how much labor is needed. This is a very important factor in Argentina. The dairy chain if you sell the grain and you introduce it in the dairy farm, the value is increased by 40 times. The same if you introduce this into the bovine cattle production, but here the value is increased by 104 times. We can generate 1 million new jobs with this change of attitude, this change of proceeding in a more efficient manner. We are not considering to industrialize the 100% of the million tons that you produce. We are only If we only increase from 22% to 35%, we will raise this 30 million that we need.
Thank you, Mario. We still have time to address some questions. My question is for Luis Fonseca and Luis Maria. Based on this scenario that was discussed, artificial intelligence and governance and the vision to develop innovation and to move toward this direction, how do you think 4.0 industry and artificial intelligence can create possibilities to move towards this direction, that is creating, developing businesses or developments? Opportunities are being developed. The state should develop or build the frameworks. This is happening and very rapidly. So early entrepreneurs or innovators should become large scale. So in many of the examples we just saw, for the foundations of Argentine economy, we are exporters of commodities, even though we know where we want to go. We think that the state even though this is a reality, I think we need clear rules so that the state does not intervene as frequently as what happened in the past. That wouldn't actually foster or encourage the farmers. But the state has to be focused on dealing with other issues. So the first thing, clear rules, and then a shared responsibility. And then, of course, there are other ways to be more accurate through good practices. For example, this is being done here in Cordoba. There's a lot to be done with in Argentina with the current scenario. I think we are just walking the early steps. I think that artificial intelligence can add direct value to the commodity. I think not only to transform the way to produce, but then a value can be added to that product that is going to be exported. So the cost efficiency can be shared with the exporter. So before investing, then we could have this overall or complete transformation. This is adding value to the product with the quality of origin, the identity. So I think that when artificial intelligence and Industry 4.0 is available, this is a value that can be added to the product that is then exported. You talked about the amount of data that is created year after year, and then how value is created based on that information. Mario, you talked about automation that also creates data, and it also requires connectivity, which is, well, some of the questions address this issue, whether there are some strategies on behalf of the government to improve connectivity, or maybe some private-public partnership to improve this connectivity and to meet this need so that these kind of technologies are more feasible. We don't have enough connectivity, and that is a fact, with a certain degree of accuracy or precision, and I see that every day. So that restricts the adoption of technologies, and I think the government understands this and is working hard to attain a solution. It's very important to achieve a solution, not only regarding the production of raw materials, but for agro-industry production is essential. So the greatest challenge is connectivity from Tierra del Fuego to the northern provinces. We are behind, and this is the same for many other, structures or infrastructures in the country. And there's a very ambitious plan, and that plan involves working jointly with the different ministries, and not only the Ministry of Industry, but other industries. But connectivity is a top priority in our agenda. So without a doubt, that will be evolving in the future, in the next few years, trying to kind of catch up with this gap. I mean, it could be, I mean, this could be a solution that is complementing the work of the government. Operators can also get involved so that operators don't charge by the minute. The other way is there is technology available already to develop a service network. So why having a network that is used, that should be used on a, in a year when it's not used as frequently? And the third point is that we don't need to have all of the data real time. Part of the data should be real time, but we could have it available like once or twice a day. So we should conceive connectivity differently. It's not the same connectivity, for example, that should be available in a city. I was going to say that, but I didn't. Probably it would have sounded as an excuse, so that's why I didn't mention. But there are many gaps, and there are many tools to bridge these gaps. And you're right. You don't necessarily need to have you don't need to have information real time all the time. This is being used in Argentina. I mean, there are some systems in place where we don't have connectivity. So when the system is connected, then it refreshes and updates the information. And a question for Mario: how long do you think it would take to have automated machines or autonomous machinery? How long do you think it'll take to get to this kind of machines? It's a very difficult thing. I mean, we all know where we're heading, but we don't know, the pace. I believe it'll be shorter than we can imagine. One of the slides that I wanted to talk about had to do with the educational process. I mean, education has to transform completely. That is, having these kind of technologies in the classrooms so as to meet the needs of the digital natives, which in some cases we don't have, for example, precision farming in the curricula, but I think we should reach elementary, high schools, not only technical schools, but every school, and to show children, if we test, for example, kids at school, they don't know, what the country is good for in terms of industry, in terms of manufacturing. I think in 5 years there will be a lot of prototypes. I mean, it's already there, but it's already here. But and there are companies selling this autonomous tractor, but I mean, it's not legal, so to speak, but it's in the market. But if we can drive a car on the road, this is much easier. And we have all of the safety components in place that guarantee that in the event of an accident, then the tractor will stop altogether. So I don't think it would be much longer. Probably tractors, maybe some other tools, not but as long as tractors grow in size, machines grow in size, then it is, it's less and less important to remove the operator, because the operator is playing an important role. And if the tractor keeps growing or grows in size, then it would be probably we should have someone driving or on the machine, on the tractor, to at least controlling what the machine is doing. So you just discuss how we're adapting to regulations. There are autonomous machines, and the legislation and regulations are being adapted to face this reality. And the question for Luis, in regards to big data and artificial intelligence, which contributes to the whole process, could you discuss how that information is used? And I mean, how should the user be confident about how this information is used? Is the information being used correctly? There are two sides to it. Personally, I think it depends on, or from the individual standpoint, it depends solely on technology. For example, blockchain. The big value has to do with smart contracts. So with technologies such as blockchain, then smart contracts can be developed, so you can actually decide who you want to share your information with. And then based on what the European Union has done in terms of legislation with personal information, these information should be actually managed by the owner, and these data would be shared by the farmers, and it would be the farmer that decides who to share this information with. We're working with APRESEED and the precision farming meetings, planning to do this through certifications. So when there's a service supplier that is hired, or then a specific set of certifications should be complied with through just a simple set of, say, 10 questions. And we are already looking at the experience of other countries, for example, the United States, so that this becomes a platform which is valid not only to search for suppliers, but set the standards for the certification process. And I think this is it's all about continuous learning. So we'll learn along the way. We're out of time, and I'd like to thank you for your presentations. I have learned a lot personally, and I'd like to thank you, and on behalf of the audience, I'd like to thank you for your contributions, how you described the new steps we're taking to add value, not only in the farms, but also farm in and farm out, and as a country, how to add value to production. Thank you very much.